Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The joint projects and enhancing cooperation ties in economy, trade and investment top the discussion between Muscat and Manama. The homemade industries and ways of developing them are the most prominent topics tackled in Musandam First Symposium. The seminar on documents management introduces legal and legislative tax of documents in the Sultanate. And specialists from Sultan Qaboos University discuss the psychological health of children. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Beji Qaid Essebsi of Tunisia on his election as the President of the Republic. His Majesty the Sultan has sent a cable of condolences to His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, Emir of the State of Kuwait, on the death of Al-Sheikha Sabah Al-Nasser Al-Sabah. His Majesty has received a cable of thanks from His Excellency President Abdelaziz Bouteflika of Algeria in reply to His Majesty's cable of greetings on his country's National Day. Holding joint projects to promote the volume and level of cooperation between the two countries and enhancing cooperation ties in economy, trade and investment were the top topics discussed by His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, with His Royal Highness Prince Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bahrain. The Omani-Bahraini Joint Committee meeting praised the good brotherly relations between the Sultanate and the Kingdom of Bahrain, of development and progress in all levels, which embodies the strong historical ties binding the two leaderships and their people, expressing their hopes for the next stage to witness a further bilateral cooperation for the benefit and good of both countries' people. It was attended by His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, Heir Apparent Deputy Supreme Commander and Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Musandam's first symposium was held in the Wilaya of Khasab under the auspices of His Highness Sayyid Taimur bin As'ad bin Tariq Al Said. With the local and international participation, the symposium discussed the home-made industries and mechanisms of developing, marketing and manufacturing them. At the end, the symposium results in clear visions on the status of home-made industries in the governorate, as well as applicable solutions which serve the government development approach, benefiting from the international experience in this aspect. A seminar on the importance of documents and their management was held in Muscat. It came to highlight the role of the Ministry of Education in preserving national documents. It included 3 work papers. The first one discussed the stages of development of the system of documentation in the ministry, in addition to its challenges and problems. The second one reviewed legal and legislative text of documents in the Sultanate. The third work paper discussed requirements of putting up a proper documentation system. The seminar witnessed a participation from experts and specialists in the field, as well as various discussions from the attendees. The 6th Arab Translation Conference continues in Muscat. On its second day, the conference discussed a number of topics. It clarified that the Arab press mixes translations terms. It also presented a number of work papers on contribution on translation and acquiring knowledge, as well as difficulties of using Arabic scientific terms. It also witnessed various discussions on the Omani press and local newspapers. Still to come in our news bulletin. Uruguay is using GM crops, genetically chosen cows and high-tech methods in the farming sector. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The vital role played by the Public Administration Institute in the Sultanate to carry out training programs for government sector employees, top discussions during the meeting of His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Omar bin Saeed Al Marhoun, Minister of Civil Service, head of the Board of Directors of the Institute, with Her Excellency Noor Hussein Ali Al Bakri, Under Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Service and Insurance of Research Sector and Policy Design of Yemen, and her delegation. The two sides also discussed development plans prepared at the Institute in the coming period. The Yemeni side reviewed their experience in the administrative and human resources development as well as administrative practices followed in Yemen. Muscat Securities Market General Index today added 1.5 points, comprising a rise by 0.02% to close at 6,220 points. The trading value today stood at 4 million Omani Riyals, comprising a decline by 66.7% compared to the last session, which stood at 12.09 million Omani Riyals. The report released by MSM pointed out that the market value fell by 0.01% to reach about 14.4 billion Omani Riyals. The report added that the value of shares brought by non-Omani investors reached 502,000 Omani Riyals, comprising 12.48%. The value of shares sold by non-Omani investors reached at 675,000 Omani Riyals, comprising 16.7%. The net non-Omani investment declined by 4.3% to 173,000 Omani Riyals. Various collections of Gulf fashion and presented by the Gulf Elegance Forum under the auspices of Her Highness Sayyida Muna bint Fahad Al Saeed. The forum witnessed a number of fashion shows for famous fashion designers in the Gulf. Omani traditional fashion was presented with Omani male fashion, which distinguished by its highlighted touches by the designers. Health Services Department in the Wilaya of Bidbid organized the National Conference on Psychological Health of Children with the participation of specialists in psychological health field from Sultan Qaboos University. The conference discussed a number of work papers related to psychological health. The lecturers also discussed about child abuse, autism, and drugs addiction. Using modern technologies in the field of educational activities was a program implemented by Scientific Discovery Center affiliated to the Directorate General for Education in the Governorate of North Sharqiya. The program provided training courses for specialists of educational activities in the field of image processing and design computerized software. The program aimed to expand perceptions of specialists of educational activities and employ modern technologies to serve students' activities in schools. Under the title Omani Locals, the 10th Personal Artistic Exhibition for the Omani artists Hamad Al-Harthi in caricature field was held with witnessed a wide participation from the Omani and Indian artists. The exhibition, which was organized by the Omani Society for Fine Arts in the Governorate of Al Brahmi, was a great opportunity to present the artists' works in this field. The paintings discussed social, economic, and educational topics by using a comic style. With a population of just 3 million people, Uruguay is aiming to produce enough food to feed 50 million using smart, sustainable farming methods. More details in the following report.
It's a tiny South American country with less than 3 million inhabitants. But Uruguay has set itself a 10-year goal of being able to produce enough food to feed 50 million. The plan is to use smart or sustainable agriculture while preserving the country's fertile soils and diverse natural resources.
Sustainable intensification of production while protecting our natural resources with the strategy of adapting to climate change having rural development in mind, without forgetting about the existing differences among producers, and being smart while using the institutional capabilities of both private and public sectors in an articulate way.
Uruguay exports 78% of what it produces, mostly meat, soy, rice, wheat, wood and wool. And with almost 1 in 5 working people living off the agricultural sector, the government is trying to push up production to boost the economy. One way the government has helped the private sector is by increasing internet coverage. Gabriel Carbalal says this lets him use satellite information to detect soil fertility.
Before, with traditional agriculture, we could only farm one field, whereas now we can divide it into 3 or 4 units, which means we can save fertilizer, or if we use the same amount of fertilizer, we use it more efficiently according to the fertility of each area.
Some farms are taking things a step further. This is one of the few in the world where experts are genetically selecting bulls to produce more meat. They're also tested for methane output to try to reduce the impact on climate change. High-tech developments also include the use of drones to see which areas need watering and which areas don't.
The key is to reach a win-win situation. We produce more, but generate fewer emissions by production unit. At the same time, we produce more, being more competitive. We are reliable food producers, and this generates new job opportunities in our society.
Much of Uruguay's success is down to the widespread use of genetically modified crops, which critics say could damage ecosystems. But the country has already gone from producing enough to feed 9 million people in 2005 to 28 million people today. It's now hoping smart agriculture will add up to almost double that production in a decade's time.
Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultan with chances of low clouds and fog late at night and early morning along the governorates of Musandam, North and South Sharqiya. Winds will be northwesterly to northwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight to moderate along the western coast of the governorate of Musandam with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. Along the coast of Sea of Oman, it will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1 meter. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The joint projects and enhancing cooperation ties in economy, trade and investment top the discussion between Muscat and Manama. The homemade industries and ways of developing them are the most prominent topics tackled in Musandam's first symposium. The seminar on documents management introduces legal and legislative tax of documents in the Sultanate. And specialists from Sultan Qaboos University discuss the psychological health of children. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the studio and the newsroom, it's good night.